7 News at noon.
Breaking news in Mendon, Sky 7 HD over the scene of a bad crash between a school bus and a car. This is 7 News at noon. I'm Amaka Ubaka.
And I'm Sarah French. We're hearing no students were hurt, but there are injuries to the people inside that car. It happened at around 8:30 this morning on Cape Road in Mendon. 7 Steve Cooper is live now with the very latest details. Steve, what do you know?
Sarah, so neighbors right now are describing some pretty terrifying moments here this morning. In fact, look behind us right now, and you can see this area of the crash scene remains sealed off at this hour. You can see there's a car that was involved. It's basically a bunch of twisted metal right now with pieces all over the place. And just beyond that car, you can see the school bus as well that was loaded with summer campers. Again, all the kids on the bus appear to be okay. The driver of this car, along with his passenger, have been rushed to area hospitals. And at this hour, police are still trying to piece together exactly what happened here and why.
It wasn't like the usual tire screeching that you would hear before a crash, just the crash itself.
From Sky 7 HD, you can see the mangled mess here on Route 140 in Mendon at Bate Street just after 8:30 this morning. That's when police say the driver of the black car was attempting to cross 140 when he was hit by the school bus. On board that bus, more than a dozen elementary school-aged kids headed to the nearby YMCA summer camp. April Hodge, who's a teacher, jumped into action.
So I went over to the bus first and saw the counselor and noticed that there was some fuel leaking. So I said we should probably get him off, and we went across the street to my neighbor's yard and sat there with the kids.
Aside from a few scrapes, all the kids seemed to be fine on the bus and were picked up by their parents. The male driver in the car was taken to the hospital by MedFlight after firefighters used the jaws of life. His female passenger also rushed to the hospital.
Well, I live across the street, and I opened the door, and the first thing I thought was, I hope whoever in that car is alive. Because they were busy cutting pieces of the car off to extricate the driver.
The crash scene remains sealed off for hours here. Neighbors say the intersection is notorious for bad accidents.
We've been here 2 years, and I think we've seen 4 car accidents here. It's a fast road.
It's a dangerous spot. I mean, I live here, and I've had close calls too, so it's my heart goes out to them.
Back live where that wreckage is still strewn across 140 at this hour. Police are still talking to the bus driver. They're talking to other witnesses who saw this crash, and they're also busy trying to reconstruct the accident at the same time. No word on the driver's condition of that car or his female passenger, both seriously injured. But again, all the kids on board the school bus, we're told, are said to be okay today. We're live in Mendon this afternoon. Steve Cooper, 7 News.
And more breaking news. A devastating earthquake rocks central Italy. This dramatic video of a survivor trapped under the rubble as an official tries to reassure him. At least 3 towns destroyed by the magnitude 6 quake.
And it hit while people were sleeping there. The quake felt across a huge portion of central Italy, including the city of Rome, where residents were feeling aftershocks. 7's Chris Anderson is here now with the very latest.
Oh, Sarah, heartbreaking new information for you this noon. Italian officials now say at least 73 people have been killed, that number increasing throughout the morning. The powerful aftershocks are continuing to shake that region as well, and right now the frantic search for survivors continues. Amatrice, which is one of 3 towns that were shaken by the earthquake, is one that seems to be the hardest hit. Italy's Civil Protection Agency just announced that the death toll has risen once again to 73 and rising, with dozens missing and hundreds injured. Amatrice has borne the brunt of that death toll. At least half of those people were in this town. Residential buildings, some several stories high, turned into huge lumps of concrete. This was a big earthquake, 6.2 on the Richter scale, and there may have been dozens, at least 40 aftershocks since then. There are helicopters moving out to see the extent of the damage because there are about 60 small hamlets, villages, isolated communities, some of them that have been cut off because of the roads that are now blocked. And the authorities want to get some handle on exactly how badly those hamlets have been hit or possibly destroyed. Earlier today, Pope Francis interrupted a lesson to hold a prayer service for all of those people affected by this earthquake. The search for the buried in the debris is still very active, so we're going to continue to monitor this unfolding situation there in Italy and bring you the very latest as soon as we get that information. Live here in the newsroom, Chris Anderson, 7 News.
And And we're following breaking news out of Afghanistan, where there are reports of gunfire and explosions on the campus of American University in Kabul. Right now, officials believe they are dealing with just one gunman, and security forces are on scene. This attack comes 2 weeks after 2 university staff members were kidnapped at gunpoint. One of those kidnapped was from the U.S. Their whereabouts are still unknown.
New at noon, a convicted rapist back in court today. Police say he's the man behind a sexual assault in the South End. And just one station was there when Boston police found this key clue in the case, a blue bike. 7's Nicole Oliverio is live in Roxbury with the very latest.
Well, Sarah, that suspect was arraigned about an hour ago, and it wasn't just the bike that linked him to the crime. Prosecutors say they have him on surveillance video, and his GPS monitoring bracelet that he was wearing also linked him to the scene of the crime. A convicted rapist on probation is accused of raping another woman. 31-year-old Eduardo Rodriguez hit his face in court as prosecutors detailed the violent attack.
Approached her on a blue BMX bicycle, grabbed her, told her that he had a knife, and ordered her to follow him. He threatened to cut her throat with the knife if she did not comply.
The assault happened at the Southwest Corridor Park early Monday morning in Boston's South End. 7 News was there when police recovered the suspect's bike. Investigators also say Rodriguez's GPS bracelet placed him at the scene of the attack, as well as surveillance video.
Mr. Rodriguez is captured on video on the bike described by the victim, and also on video walking with the victim toward the area of the playground.
Rodriguez was on probation for a 2007 rape. He was released from jail in December. Prosecutors say the details are eerily similar.
Almost the exact same set of facts. A young woman is walking alone to the bus at 6 o'clock in the morning. This defendant approaches her, indicates to her that he has a knife.
Rodriguez's girlfriend was in court. She says she's 2 months pregnant with his baby and had no idea about his criminal past.
I'm feeling devastated. I mean, I was dealing with somebody I didn't know really who he was. I'm upset that what he did to that lady, but she have to suffer. You know, I'm a woman, so it's like, to me, he can go to jail for 10, 15, 30 years, life.
Rodriguez is being held on $500,000 bail. The woman who claims that she was his girlfriend, she says he never showed a violent side and said that he was in jail for 9 years because of drugs. That's the latest live in Roxbury. Nicole Oliverio, 7 News.
Also on 7, the scene is now clear in Charlestown after a rollover at the Sullivan Square Rotary, a dump truck spilling scrap metal everywhere. The driver had to kick out the windshield to get out of the vehicle. He suffered minor injuries. And 2 people are rushed to the hospital after a serious crash in Wilmington. Police say an SUV slammed into a utility pole late last night. You can see the front of the car is smashed in. There's no word yet on the victim's conditions or the cause of the crash.
A former church pastor in Manchester, New Hampshire, facing alarming accusations that he had sex with a 13-year-old girl. Investigators say it happened inside his office at the Dialogue Church. A police report says Stephen Jesmere confided to another pastor and was immediately fired. People who know him are shocked.
He was a nice guy. I mean, until you see something like they do something like that, you know, and then you wonder why.
Kind of shocking because I always see him every morning when I take my kids to school, so I don't know.
A judge ordered Jesmere to stay away from all children under the age of 18, including the alleged victim.
Now on just one station, the pilot of the plane that had to make an emergency landing in the Quabbin Reservoir talking about that frightening flight. The FAA is expected to arrive there today to figure out why the plane was forced to land. 7's Jennifer Egan has the story.
That pilot is just happy to be back home. He was just about mid-flight when he started to have trouble and decided to land. A Rhode Island pilot made an emergency landing aiming for this sandbar in the middle of the Quabbin Reservoir.
I'm exhausted right now. I haven't had a drink since literally no water, nothing. I'm just exhausted. I mean, right now it's traumatic for everybody.
The 42-year-old, thankful to be going home uninjured, sentiments shared by his wife.
We're all really happy, safe and sound.
Molly DeRamel says her husband was headed to Vermont from Newport when he started to have engine problems and was forced to land his fixed-wing single-engine plane. He told troopers the aircraft had a mechanical issue, leaving him no choice but to touch down. Sky 7 HD flew over the Quabbin shortly after that landing. You can see the yellow 2015 Sea Wind was lucky to grab a piece of land land in the middle of the 39 square miles of water. The Quabbin supplies water to much of eastern Massachusetts, and planes are not supposed to land here or even fly below 1,200 feet over it. The FAA and the NTSB now investigating, but the pilot's family says they're glad he's safe and sound.
We're just going to get him home.
An investigation into what happened is underway. Then crews will get that plane off the sandbar. State police say there are no environmental concerns at this time. In the newsroom, Jennifer Egan, 7 News.
More news today. A Massachusetts judge facing tough questions. He sentenced 18-year-old David Becker to just 2 years probation after he was convicted of sexually assaulting 2 unconscious classmates. Becker is a former star athlete at East Longmeadow Down High School. Critics are questioning why he was given such a light sentence and allowed to attend college in Ohio. There is now a petition calling for the removal of that district court judge. A man is recovering today after he was hit with a massive tree branch in Brookline. A company was trimming trees in the area with the 30-inch branch when it fell on this man's head. Investigators say the tree company did not put up any barricades to warn people to stay away from the area. The 29-year-old victim is in serious condition.
Well, I feel really sad. It's like someone who you see every day and things happen to him like that. It's really sad.
OSHA is now investigating what happened. Now to the latest in the race for the White House. Donald Trump doubling down on his call for a special prosecutor to investigate Hillary Clinton's emails.
And Republicans are taking aim at the new information about the ties between the Clinton Foundation and the State Department.
It is impossible to figure out where the Clinton Foundation ends and the State Department begins.
A new Associated Press analysis shows more than half the non-government people Hillary Clinton met with as Secretary of State were also donors to her family's foundation.
This is simply a question of access. Who got in, who got to talk to her. Obviously, if you're a lobbyist, that would be the end game.
This as the FBI investigates 15,000 new emails not previously reported.
Hillary Clinton, this is no laughing matter. Nobody is above the law.
Trump's calling for a special prosecutor to investigate. Clinton's team continues to insist she did nothing wrong. The Clinton Foundation says if she wins, they'll spin off international activities, programs with foreign donors, and Bill Clinton will step down from the board. Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine are focusing on hard-to-win states like Arkansas.
Right now, the polling would suggest it's an uphill push for us.
But a new Monmouth University poll shows Clinton and Trump nearly even in another red state, Missouri. Now, both candidates are out and about today. Donald Trump campaigning in Florida, Hillary Clinton holding fundraisers in California. Meanwhile, Vice President Joe Biden visited the Turkish parliament in Ankara today. During his visit, he saw parts in the parliament building which were damaged in an attack during the coup attempt in July. The vice president will also discuss a recent offensive in Syria against the terror group ISIS.
Coming up on 7 News at noon, this is a training day of sorts for Boston police. The new piece of equipment many officers will be putting through a test run.
And President Obama lending his support to families devastated by flooding in Louisiana.
Another beautiful afternoon, a ton of sunshine. How long the drive will last ahead?